Chapter 1, Part 2, Nutrition, Digestion. Contents. Here are the contents. Digestion is a breakdown of food into smaller components that can be more easily absorbed and assimilated by the body. Divided into two processes based on how food is broken down. You have mechanical and then you have chemical. Mechanical is you break down food physically into small pieces so that enzymes can work on it. Chemical will be enzymes breaking down the food into smaller molecules that body can use. Journey of food from mouth to anus involves 5 different processes. Ingestion, you take the food to your mouth. Digestion, breakdown of large food molecules into smaller sub-one by mechanical and chemical means. Absorption, you take the food molecules into cells. Assimilation, you make use of that molecules making part of you. And egestion, you expel whatever that is unused back out. So the alimentary canal is made out of several organs working together for all processes mentioned above. We start from the mouth all the way to the anus. So here's the mouth. The mouth forms mechanical and chemical digestion. Mechanical is by the work of the teeth. It binds food pieces into smaller cut pieces, which is easy for you to swallow. And by making food into small pieces, you will make the food having more larger surface area for faster chemical digestion. And then your mouth also performs chemical digestion, usually through your saliva. The saliva has milk and water, and also it makes an enzyme that breaks down starch into the food into maltose. After that, the food will be pushed by the tongue into the esophagus. Teeth. Teeth are small calcified structures found in jaws or many vertebrates used to break down food. You have mammal teeth, incisors, canines, premolar and molar. We have 2 jaws, we have 4 incisors in each jaw. In that, in total we have 8. We have 16 teeth in each jaw and 32 in the whole mouth. Incisors, there are 4 in the front of each jaw. They act like a blade to cut the food, so it has a chisel-like surface. Canines, you have 2 in each jaw, very pointed. Animals such as tigers, dogs, cats, they use it to kill the prey, but for us, they are kind of short. So we just use it to tear away or tear down the meat or something that is stiff. Premolars, you have 4 on each side of each jaw. They are used to cut and grind food. Molars have 6 at the back of each jaw. Total of the teeth, they have the same use as premolars. Part of the teeth. The tooth is divided into 2 parts, the front and the root. You have enamel, dentine, and pulp cavity. So top you have enamel. Usually enamel is seen over the gums, so we usually call that a crown, but the part that is unseen, they are called the roots. Tooth decay is when your tooth becomes acted on by the acids created by the bacteria which is in your mouth. So whenever you eat, there will be food particles. The bacteria will feed on the food particles, creating fatty acid, which will little by little act on the calcium in your enamel, and they will make holes on it. So as it dissolves your teeth, you will reach all the way to dentine, where you will actually feel the pain. So these are the stages of tooth decay: healthy, decay in enamel, decay in dentine, and lastly decay in pulp, where infection happens. Methods to prevent tooth decay: you have sugar intake, you have to reduce it, you have to brush your teeth, remove the plaque layer. You can use toothpaste or water containing fluoride. Fluoride can actually absorb by teeth, make it stronger and stop the acid. And also pay regular visits to dentists. So water fluoridization. So in water fluoridization, the government of a country would put fluoride in the water to indirectly help save the teeth of their people. So this method is much more cheaper and much more easier to carry out. Just mix it with the drinking water, and then when the people drinks it, fluoride will be absorbed into the teeth, making it stronger. Usually it is 0.1 to 0.6 mg per liter, adding with sodium fluoride, fluoroacetic acid, or sodium fluoroacetate. Okay, so fluoride water will operate on 2 surfaces. You will make the teeth much more alkaline, not really good for acidic. You reduce the rate where tooth enamel lose minerals, and increase the rate where it mineralizes at the early stage cavities. So the 18 to 40% reduction in cavities when water pollution is used and 70 to 90% of the fluoride gets to the blood, where it will be distributing to the body. So 60% of this ingested fluoride will get retained, that will be excreted, and most of this fluoride will end up in your teeth, in your bones, and other calcium-rich areas. So fluoride has its advantages and disadvantages. Advantages will be you have a suitable amount, you can prevent tooth decay, it is easy, it is cheap. Disadvantages: if you put too much chemicals in water, it will actually be bad. It will make you vomit, it will make you nauseous, it can cause fluorosis. So these are teeth of different organisms. You have lampreys, first of all, on the top left. Lampreys do not have actual teeth. These are just hooks for them to hook on host organisms so that they can suck the nutrients. That would be the pacu, the fish that has similar teeth such as the human scissors. Then you have the basking shark. They don't have teeth at all. Sparkling sharks, it just filter feed. And then we go to the squid or octopus. Both of those would have a beak such as like that, so that they can tear away the meat of their victims. And lastly, it is the mouth of a starfish. Starfishes do not have any teeth. They just consume anything or swallow anything just below them whole, and they will digest it later. Swallowing, it is a reflex where you will pull all of the food from your mouth into your throat and back into the esophagus so that you can digest it. So all of these are actually controlled by your brainstem reflex center, meaning that it is something that's a response to a stimulant. If you have something that is on your tongue, your brain will tell the tongue to push backwards, so the food will slide all the way in, and at that time your larynx will close, meaning that you cannot breathe, you cannot speak at all. It will be closed so that to allow food to come in. So the one that is closing your larynx will be the epiglottis. So what if you cannot swallow at all? If you cannot swallow at all, maybe it's time for you to get nasogastric intubation. So this tube goes from your nasal area into your stomach, gastric. So usually people who cannot swallow at all, usually they are comatose patients, people with neck or facial injuries, they are unable to breathe with their lungs, and also premature infants. So they are baby who are born too early, so they have problems to eating or feeding themselves. So if you somehow fail to close your epiglottis in time when the food slides in, sometimes the food can slide into your larynx and possibly into your bronchus, which will impede your breathing. So that's where the Heimlich maneuver comes in. The technique which you put a force in your abdomen to allow the food to just be speed up. Okay, imagine a balloon. Okay, you forcefully squeeze the balloon, the air should come out. That's how it happens. So usually if you have a friend who is choking, put the face between the ribs and then pull backwards and up. If you're alone, you should put your ribs or area that is below your ribs on a hard surface and then try to kind of like push that hard surface towards you. Now the esophagus. Esophagus is the tube that transports the food from the mouth deep into the body or stomach. So esophagus, it is not just a straw or tube. It is a tube with muscles, so it is able to squeeze behind the food to push the food down. So similar to the action of use your toothpaste. You just use your fingers and push the toothpaste to the mouth so that the toothpaste can get out. So in the stomach, the food stays for a while. Some is flexible back that forms both mechanical and chemical digestion. So in terms of mechanical digestion, your stomach can actually move around or churn. So when the stomach churns, you will mix up the acid and the juices of the stomach with the food. So these are the different stomachs of different animals: kangaroo, mouse, ruminant, pig, and human. And then Below we have the vertical bended gastroplasty and also the laparoscopic gastric sleeve gastrectomy. So the one that you see on the bottom part of the page will be the surgeries that is done to reduce the volume of the stomach. If you reduce the volume of stomach, it means that the person who has this stomach will not be able to eat a lot. So why do we actually do this? This is actually for people who are morbidly obese. Somebody who is so obese that it actually harms their health. So they need to drastically make their stomach more smaller so that they will be quickly fulfilled. Whenever they eat, they get full very quickly, and then they will stop eating too much. So what about heartburn? Heartburn actually doesn't happen in the heart, but it happens near the area, because your stomach, it is capable of withstanding very acidic substances. You know, the stomach juice is like 2 and 3 pH, very acidic. But if these juices, this acid, somehow splashes to places which is not the stomach, which is not designed to withstand that acid, it will cause a lot of pain. So your esophagus connects to the stomach. Then between the esophagus and the stomach, there is an opening called the sphincter, the lower esophageal sphincter. In normal cases, the sphincter will close, meaning that there will be no juices coming out. It will just stay in the stomach. But if there is a weakness in the sphincter, or maybe you jump around after eating, you will jog after eating, okay, you do not stay still after eating, sometimes the acid can splash out. When it splashes out, the whole area will feel as if it is burning. It is usually because of the gastric juices leaking out through the esophageal sphincter. Chemical digestion. The walls of the stomach secretes a juice called gastric juice, which contains hydrochloric acid, mucus, and peptide enzyme. So this enzyme turns proteins into simpler polypeptides, and it needs HCl, which is a very strong acid. So it needs that acid to work. And then you also have mucus within your gastric juices, so it's to lubricate the stomach, protect the stomach from the acids, meaning that it will not be eaten by itself. After some time, you will have the food totally becoming a liquid which is thick called chyme. It takes 4 to 6 hours in dogs, 1 to 2 hours in humans, and 3 to 4 hours in house cats for the food to become this chyme. So the chyme will move into the small intestine. Small intestine is where a lot of digestion and absorption takes place. So you have the duodenum and ileum. Okay, so within this area, food will be pulled away from its nutrients. So at this point, your food is just a liquid, but your intestine will suck all of the nutrients that is locked inside. All the proteins, all the vitamins, all the minerals, all will be locked inside. Okay, so bile juice, it is from the liver, so in the gallbladder. So bile, it works on fats. Fats, they are organic compounds. In your stomach, it is aqueous, so aqueous and organic does not mix. So bile juice will actually break down these organic compounds such as lipid, oil, fat into smaller droplets so that it can be digested. So we call it emulsification. So as you can see here, this is a bile duct with something they call bile stones or gallstones. So gallstones are crystals that is made from the misdirected digestion. So somehow, because of a bad diet and a really bad metabolism, a lot of the food that you eat becomes crystal by itself, okay? Especially proteins. So these crystals, you can actually remove it by surgical manner, and you can actually detect it through the X-ray because it is hard, it is a lump, and it is able to block the radiation. As you can see, there are 4 in that picture. Pancreatic juice, it is juice that comes from pancreas. So in pancreas, it is the inverse of the stomach, so it is much more alkaline, not acidic, and it also has enzymes and sodium hydrogen carbonate. Hydrogen carbonate is the alkaline. Pancreatic juice contains the following enzymes: amylase for digesting starch into maltose, trypsin, the acid protein superpeptides, lipase to digest fats to fatty acid and cholesterol, meaning that all of these enzymes, they actually break down your food into its constituents. Small intestinal liquid. So this liquid also has enzymes. Within the enzymes, you have a lot of these enzymes are kind of similar to the enzyme that we previously learned. We have maltase, sucrase, lactase. So all of these three are for sugars. Okay, some people are born with lack of lactase, so they cannot drink so much milk, so we call it lactose intolerant. Fats, like in lipase, so lipase is also released to destroy fats. And then you have protease, which also destroys protein and it will make us easier to absorb all of the amino acids that we need from the proteins. In small intestine, it takes place on the second section of the ileum. The wall of the ileum would have a lot of these small villi for absorption, because this small villi will add to the surface of the small intestine. Meaning that if you have something like your towel, the towel has a lot of these small fingers. Okay, so all of these can actually make towel more absorbent to water. So you compare a towel with a handkerchief. A handkerchief cannot absorb too much water, unlike the towel, because lack of surface area. So within this villi, they have a branch of blood capillaries and also a lacteal. Lacteal is a lymph vessel where you will take away fats and lipids and vitamins and put it into the lymphatic system. So blood microvilli, it is for adding to the surface area, and each one of the villi is very thin. They're able to add to much of the surface area for absorption. Large intestine. At this point, when your food reaches here, most of the food has been taken away. For large intestine, by the time your food has reached this area, most of the food has been taken away. Okay? No more nutrients at all, except the one that we wanna take out, which is the waste. Water and minerals are taken into the blood. Fibers and dead cells or the alimentary canal are stored in the rectum, then excreted to the anus. Other than that, within your rectum, there is also a gas. This gas is called flatus. So this gas is made by the byproduct of bacterial fermentation in your gastrointestinal tract. So within your gastrointestinal tract, there will be a lot of bacteria. So the bacteria will act on your food, and then they will release a lot of gas. So a lot of this gas will be collected in your rectum, and there will be contraction in the muscles in your intestines. Okay, because of the contractions, it will compress the gas, and then it will be released. Released through the sphincter, anal sphincter, or the butthole. Okay, so this gas, if you look at it, a lot of the gas are quite pungent, but the pungent gases, they only make for a small amount of the gas that's in your flatus. So every person who passes gas 13 times daily, volume of gas will be 20,000 cc, which is 2 liters. Mostly methane, hydrogen, CO2 and nitrogen, so do not light your farts on fire. Then we move to assimilation. So in assimilation, you will absorb all of the nutrients and put it into places that need it in your body. The body will absorb the nutrient. Okay? So every foodstuff or every nutrient have to go through this portal called the HPB, hepatic portal vein, all the way to the liver. In the liver, your liver will sort out all of the nutrients to different places. Glucose, it will be stored in the liver as glycogen. Some of them can be put into fats as an energy reserve. Amino acids, they will be deaminated. Okay, and then when they are deaminated, the amine NH2 will become urea and then becomes urine. And then liver also deals with all red blood cells. All the red blood cells will be destroyed, and then you have a lot of iron. The iron will be used to make up new red blood cells. Other than that, any toxic materials that come to your body will be detoxified by the liver. Liver also generates the heat because it is a very busy organ. It does a lot, it creates a lot, it diffuses a lot, so it will create a lot of heat. Other than that, the liver also makes fibrinogen, which is a lung protein that acts when you are cut, when you have any bruises, when you have any injuries, you will have to clot your blood. So defecation, that is the final act of digestion. You eliminate solid or semi-solid liquid material from your anus. So humans expel feces with the frequency of varying from a few times daily to a few times weekly. So waves of muscular contraction, such as waves of muscular contraction known as peristalsis in the walls of colon, move fecal matter through the digestive tract to the rectum. Undigested food may also be expelled this way in a process called egestion. So defecation in humans usually takes place together with the holding of breath and trying to expel through this hold the breath. So we call it peneran in Malay, or we call it basawa maneuver in English. Okay. So when you do that, you will contract your respiratory chest muscles and diaphragm. And the wall muscles and pubic diaphragm, abdominal wall muscles and pubic diaphragm will make a force, make a pressure on the digestive tract. So at this point, you will stop breathing for a while, and your blood pressure will rise. Okay. Why does your blood pressure rise? Because you are actually constraining. You are constraining, and the amount of blood that is pumped by the heart will be decreases. So other animals have a little bit strange digestion modes. For example, some birds do crop. So the great crop, it is actually the secretion from the crop of pigeons and doves. So meaning that these birds, they actually eat something, and then the food becomes liquid. They just vomit out the food into the mouths of the young. Sharks, they are able to turn their stomach inside out. Unlike us, we just vomit, but for them, they can turn their stomach inside out. Regurgitation has been done a lot by animals. If you can see, some mother birds, they eat the food first, and then they will just fly away to their nest and then feed the babies through their mouths, the food which is undigested. Why do they do that? They actually do that because there's so many predators. Maybe prey is quite larger than they can carry all the way to the nest. So they have to eat it first, and then not swallow it, and then feed it to the young. Other animals, they practice coprophagia behaviors. They eat their own feces to redigest the food again. But rabbits, hamsters, they don't have a complete digestive system such as us. We as humans only eat our food once, and then we expel our feces. Rabbits, hamsters, capybara, they have to eat it twice so that the digestion will be complete. So the first poop, the first fecal pellets are soft and actually still has nutrients in it. So usually the rabbits or hamster will eat it ASAP. Then after they eat it the second time, for the second time of digestion, then they will have droppings which is hard. Young elephants, pandas, koalas, hippos, they actually have to eat the feces of the mother because to get the bacteria required to properly digest vegetation. So why must this happen? Because if they do not do that, they will not have the essential bacteria to aid their digestion. They'll be unable to digest any greens, any leaves, any shoots, any eucalyptus trees, any fruits. All those cannot be digested if they do not eat their mother's feces. Okay. So here is your assignment. Take a picture of the nutrition composition or content of food, and based on that, you decide if the food is healthy or unhealthy. It must be 2 pages, handwritten, and the composition must be attached, such as this. The end.